For the starter, I'd ask our broadcast director to put this couple of minutes of Stoltenberg answer to the question of Ukrainian media network and Kyiv Post. I've asked him about the way Ukraine could join NATO potentially, and whether he is considering any sort of old-fashioned membership action plan that was that could have been on the table for Ukraine after the before the Bucharest summit that was discussed more than a decade ago, and any other way of this gradual integration. And my second question to Jens Stoltenberg was about due diligence of Western assets, because this was one of the issues on the table, and Oleksiy Bobrovnykov, Defense Minister of Ukraine, did a report on the usage and the audit, the due diligence of Western assets, and he was listened to very carefully. And this is where we'll spend a couple of minutes discussing that. But let's listen to Jens Stoltenberg and his remarks answering our question a few days ago.
Russia protested heavily, but the allies and these individual countries decided their own path and invited them, and they are now members. Then Finland and Sweden are very close to membership. They are now invited to the alliance, they participate in NATO structures, meetings, they're at the NATO table, they are more and more integrated into NATO's civilian and military structures, including defense planning. So we are very close to also have 2 more, Finland and Sweden, as full-fledged members. On Ukraine, NATO's position has not changed. We have reiterated many times that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance, but the focus now is to ensure that Ukraine wins the war, because the only way to integrate and to ensure that Ukraine can move towards Euro-Atlantic cooperation, closer Euro-Atlantic cooperation, is to ensure that Ukraine prevails as a sovereign, independent nation. So the main focus of NATO allies is to ensure that Ukraine gets the weapons, the supplies, the ammunition they need to push back the Russian invaders. And we're also working on a more long-term partnership, helping Ukraine to move from Soviet era weapons, doctrines, standards to NATO standards, to improve interoperability on security and defense reform, and all that will move Ukraine closer to the NATO alliance. Then, of course, the best proof that the support works and is actually helping Ukraine is the progress Ukraine has delivered on the battlefield. And allies are also, of course, constantly working with the Ukrainian authorities to ensure that all the money, all the funding ends up where it should.
Due diligence.
That's also, we have very close contact with them. We work on that all the time to ensure that we have the necessary oversight and transparency.
Due diligence of the assets.
That's the way we are ensuring that that's happening.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to ask on defense spending.
Yeah, basically, I was trying to press him to get some more information, but the absence of I would say, negative comments was important too, because this is something that is happening, behind the scene. It is happening, and there is an issue of trust still. But I gotta say that despite the corruption scandals in Ukrainian Defense Ministry, from what I heard from the top diplomats in NATO, when it comes to this current situation with Minister Reznikov, it's like this bureaucracy in this gray form, so to say, is not an issue at this stage and is off the table. It is something that is really not considered as a trigger, to put Ukraine in a gray zone again. So this is not something that the local authorities, the Brussels and the NATO authorities are really pressing on. However, this transparency of shipments of weapons and munitions, of course, are discussed, and this is something that Ukrainian ministry really had to be ready for, and Ukrainian leadership has to be super accurate with that. And I recorded not that I've recorded, I had a conversation with one of the senior diplomats there when he, on the condition of not revealing his identity, but one of those who was present at all of these meetings, when we were talking about Reznikov's potatoes and eggs, this local corruption scandal, he said that case is closed for us. We understand that there is an anti-corruption push. This is something that we understand and respect, but this case is closed for us. This is what I've heard from a top official there. But of course, when we are talking about the munitions and weaponry, Western-produced munitions and weaponry, and trust Reznikov. So the comment was like this: Reznikov is extremely popular here. Everybody knows him, and here we are dealing with an extremely sensitive subject. So we got to understand what is happening. If there is any doubt, it would be already known here. If any shadow of the doubt would be here, it would already be here. But that that was the answer. So it was diplomatic and yet very strong. Reznikov is on the table for NATO. He is still a person that is an important player, and there is no crisis of mistrust, but there is a lot of course, there are a lot of questions, and there's a lot of attention towards everything that's we are under a very, very strong surveillance and and attention. And this is not something that we should take for granted. And the munitions and logistics and weaponry, and indeed, there is something that we're going to be well aware of. West is not turning a blind eye on things that really matters, and weapons and munitions matter.